If it's the sport you care about, we're talking about it. The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
It is the Full Court Press, and it is a Friday. Happy Friday to you, one and all, wherever and however you are doing.
It's a Friday.
It's a Friday.
Woo!
106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan, and 106.9thefan.com if you're streaming. Happy to have you wherever and however you're joining us. 4:01 is your kickoff time here on the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Ajay, Salvesen. Glad to have you wherever you are at, in the garage or at home or on your computer. Getting ready to tweet something nasty to Eric about his comparison yesterday. A big thank you to all our wonderful listeners yesterday. I thought you were phenomenal. From tweets to text messages, thank you so much for being a part of our show. We are glad to have you whenever and however and whatever your opinion is. We'd love to discuss it. So it was Hot Take Thursday yesterday. I think we got that out of us, I hope. And now we move on to what?
Why do you want it to be out?
Okay, you comparing...
Maybe you just started something.
You comparing Jason Shelley as the next Eric Weddle.
All I said... we went back and listened to it.
Dude, and Piranhas. Dude, Piranhas is a man. I love Piranhas. Thank you.
All I said was switching positions works out for some guys.
Hey,
like it
now
worked
you
out
know
for
what it's
Eric
like
Weddle.
to say... Now you know what it's like to say something stupid and get... What is that called? Get hosed for it. 9315 text into our show. Our loyal listener, 9315, grateful for you always joining our show. He says, do you think conferences like the Pac-12 are just doing conference-only schedules on purpose? Because they don't want to have to pay teams like Utah State with their game against Washington and pay the Aggies $1.5 million without fans in the stands. Could we see a change in that idea and see them maybe play non-conference games? Or does money rule the game? In college football, money has, and always will rule the game. Plain and simple.
Yeah, I think there's still some question. I haven't seen a quality answer yet for those schools that had games, guaranteed money games scheduled against Big Ten or Pac-12 schools, if they will still get their payout. I would be shocked if anybody got the full amount.
Oh, yeah. Me too. I'd be stunned.
It would not surprise me if they tried to claim a force majeure and got out of it completely. And if so, I mean, there's a lot of athletic departments that are going to be already hurting, but that's just going to make it even worse. So to answer your 9315's question, I think that very well could be a part of the discussion. Although Big Ten is not hurting for cash.
Neither is the SEC.
Yeah, so the fact that they made the decision earlier on, well, they may be trying to preserve, their golden toilets as much as they have in reserves. I don't know if it was necessarily just a decision motivated by money and the finances involved with it. I think that does play into it. When you look at the conference by and large, how many games, non-conference games they were going to play, especially with Mountain West schools, that's a big money savings for the Pac-12, not to pay those guarantees. I think they're just projecting, look, we already know this virus is still very rampant in these areas. We don't know, some of these areas it's highly doubtful we'll have fans to some, or if we have fans in the stands, it's a fraction of what it normally is. So we know we're going to have a financial hit. Do we also just delay this a little bit? Hopefully things die down a little bit more with this disease. It's a little bit more controllable. And so I think there were a lot of factors that they were looking at. And I do think that the financial aspect of it and the guaranteed payouts that they were supposed to make were part of that. But I'm still a little uncertain about, again, that's I guess in air quotes, guarantee if that really will take place for some of these schools.
Paul Feinbaum, actually, from the SEC Network, talked about how right now, in the way it's constructed, it is every conference for itself.
We have every league out there for themselves. I mean, you have the Ivy and 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 more saying we're going to play in the spring. You have the Power 5 saying we'll play only conference in the fall. I mean, I've never, in 40 years of covering college football, seen such dysfunctionality.
And then, by the way, he also has a very bold comment about the president of the NCAA.
First of all, it was nice of Mark Emmert to come out of the Witness Protection Program yesterday to let us know what we should all know about the college football season. He is the president of the NCAA. He makes $3.5 million a year, and him telling us there's a problem is like a meteorologist telling us during a hurricane that it's raining outside. He has had a complete abject failure at leadership. He's been derelict in his duty, and quite frankly, I think he should be fired.
Wow. You said hot takes were done.
Yeah, that, by the way, could get him in serious trouble because you can't be on the SEC network and then say that the president of the NCAA should be fired.
Yeah, but you know what? He is absolutely correct. But the problem is that the NCAA has allowed this to happen, and this started years ago. Decisions they made a long time ago led to the chaos that's ensuing right now. There is no leadership when it comes to college football with NCAA. It's everybody for themselves. It's been that way for a long time. It's just gotten worse. And now all of a sudden with this pandemic, everybody's doing what they can to cover what they have and do what's in their own best interest, rather than the NCAA saying, as a group, as a body, this is the direction that we're going to go. Nobody recognizes the NCAA for its authority. That's why we prefer to call them Power Five, but they prefer to call themselves the Autonomous Five. And it bothers me when the Mountain West starts using that same phrase, Autonomous Five. They're letting them have their own control and their own power. And it's just getting us closer to the point where these programs break away and they're no longer part of the NCAA. And if it does happen, which it probably will, it's only the NCAA's fault. Leadership, the lack thereof, from guys like Mark Emmert.
Sorry, I was reading a conversation on Twitter. I'll read it to you off air because I don't want to read it on air without going through you first to see if we can talk about it on air. But you're right. But the other thing to it is, though, Eric, no one planned for this, man. No one planned for a pandemic to happen. And now everyone in March or in April said we'll be back to normal by June. July at the latest, June. Well, here we are in now mid-July, just past the midway point of July. And still no answers. Still no decisiveness. Still, what are we going to play? Are we going to play? In fact, Coach Anderson had his kids in on Monday. They were told to go back to individual workouts Tuesday. Wednesday, they were told that they can go back to team workouts again. It has been on and off the whole entire time. There was no consistency because of this COVID-19 situation and the NCAA trying to handle it. I just feel like the unknown is what's stopping the NCAA. And that's what's scaring them off the most. But they also understand how much income and money comes in through football, and they want that money, but it's tough right now. I don't blame Mark Emmert. I got to be honest with you, man. It's too hard to know what's going to happen.
Sure, and I understand that aspect of it, but he's been absent in all of this.
Has he though?
Everybody's kind of doing their own thing.
I get it. Like the statement that they put out was hey, good luck, Power 5 commissioners. Make the decision that's best for your conference and go from there. I get it. That would have bothered me too as a commissioner hearing that from the president. But at the same time, the president, if he makes a decision, the commissioners don't like it, then all hell breaks loose and we got chaos. We got anarchy from everywhere. So then what? And by the way, the blood's on Emmert's hands after that. So now, honestly, you lay it into their hands and you say, you decide what you think is best because every conference is in a different situation. Let's be honest. Every conference has a different situation going on.
Well, and I understand that, and I certainly respect the idea that, if there are things happening in your area, you're going to know better about what's in the best interest of the safety of your student athletes, your coaches, your staff. You're going to know what's best for you in your specific area. To say that somebody who's very distant, far away, is trying to make decisions for you, and they have what's going on in their neck of the woods is vastly different than what's going on in yours, that can be pretty hard to swallow.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I mean, we're seeing that in a lot of different things, not just in sports. But at the same time, it just feels like there's not much leadership going on here. It's kind of like, we know this is crazy. We know it's out of control. You do your own thing. Just figure it out.
Yeah,
just as long as you start the clock and you play X number of minutes for every quarter, and you have these are the rules for what's considered a foul and what's not, and you have X number of scholarships to have on your team. Everything else, have at it. Do your own thing.
I don't know. It's a tough gig to have, with a lot of decisions to be made that are going to impact the game of football, but even college athletics in the future for at least the next year. At least the next year. That is a big weight to have on your shoulders, and that's why he gets paid the big bucks, but I also understand that's why Larry Scott gets overpaid. Incredibly overpaid. Well, buddy, you want to put into your $5 million office? Here we go. You decide what you want to do. And they went conference schedule only. But yeah, again, there's just too much unknown to make a decision right now. And I like conferences waiting until the end of July to be, okay, let's make sure we know where we stand. Let's make sure we know where COVID-19 status is before we go out and say, hey, we're going to go full season, or hey, we're going to just play conference games, or we're not going to have football at all.
Right, because we're now into that window where people realize that if we don't get a hold of this, football, the sport that we love, isn't going to happen. And if it means me wearing a mask and being slightly uncomfortable when I'm in a public setting by wearing a mask, if that means that we can have football, I will suffer the slight uncomfortable aspect of having a mask on my face when I'm in public next to people. I mean, really, it's not that hard. But I think that people are starting to realize that, look, if we don't do this, if we don't get this virus under control, it's going to affect school, it's going to affect football, it's going to affect a lot of other sports, and especially in large swaths of the country where football is as close to religion as religion, and maybe even ahead of religion, then that's when people start to take it real seriously.
Really quickly, Brett McMurphy has just came out and announced that the Southwestern Athletic Conference, also known as the SWAC, will announce on Monday it is canceling fall sports. SWAC is the latest FCS league that won't play football this upcoming fall. One domino after the other, they're all starting to fall. And by the way, that does affect New Mexico State, who already lost UCLA, now loses another opponent in November. Eric, I think we're going to the point where we're just delaying the inevitable, right? I mean, the further we go, I don't know how we pull this off. If we have a football season, I'm going to be... okay, if we have a football season, I'll be surprised. If we have a football season in the fall, I'm going to be shocked.
I'm hopeful.
I don't know how you are.
But it may be that, you know what, the Big Ten, they don't start football until October. But the Pac-12, maybe they start in September. Maybe, you do a conference only, but they don't always start at the same time.
So then if the Pac-12 finishes a month before the SEC... then what? I mean, do you sit and wait for bowl games for a month?
Well, that poses a whole other question. Do you even have bowl games?
No. Oh, no way. No way.
Because those bowl games exist, to get the TV revenue and the sponsorship revenue, but to sell tickets to those fan bases.
Yeah,
you can't have fans in the stands.
Yeah,
they're not going to engineer a bowl game for TV only.
In December, there's no way.
They may be all pushed into January.
Well, yeah, okay, so if the bowls or the games themselves?
The bowls.
Yeah, they aren't going to have fans, and I don't think they're going to have bowls, period. I just don't see there's a way. From the gridiron to the hardwood, Sharnia, whatever the fetch your name is.
Sharania.
You guessed wrong. Sources NBA has informed teams, quote, the decision to exclude seeding games from awards voting ensures a fair process in which players and coaches from all 30 teams will have the same opportunity to be honored. What is he talking about? The NBA's annual performance awards, which include the MVP, Rookie of the Year, Sixth Man, Defensive Player of the Year, Coach of the Year, will be based upon regular season games through March 11th, when the season was suspended. Rudy Gobert's your defensive player of the year then.
Why? Because he shut down the NBA?
Okay, calm down. That joke's getting old.
I know. It's got to find ways to work
But you
it
like
in.
it. So again, the decision to
he, though?
exclude the seeding games award from awards voting ensures a fair process in which players and coaches from all 30 teams will have the same opportunity to be honored. But does it ensure a fair process?
Yeah, it does.
How?
Yeah. Well, I think that the people who are going to win those awards are likely on those teams that are going to be in Orlando anyway. But I think it at least gives those franchises, those teams from the Delete Eight, the idea that, hey, at least we still had a shot to be involved with these things and to be fair. I mean, how much is going to change in 8 games?
There's no.
How much is really going to change in 8 games?
A lot. Zion Williamson could have been your rookie of the year. Even if he would have been gone, came back for the last 3 games, and had spectacular 3 games, got his team into the playoffs. A lot. Defensive player of the year was probably a neck-and-neck race.
Nah, John Morant had that thing wrapped up.
No way.
Defensive player of the year, I think it was a tight decision anyway. Maybe the 8 games helps you lean one way or the other, but I think that it's Rudy Gobert, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Those are your front runners.
No, sorry. So wait, Rudy Gobert probably won't win it then. Looking at stats and numbers, Giannis Antetokounmpo will probably win it running away. It may not be close.
Rudy will get votes. Because the people who vote on these things look at more than just the raw stats. Because some of the things that Rudy does don't show up in a stat sheet. When guys have to pull out, if they're coming into the lane and they have to readjust their whole offensive game plan, change the play because Rudy is where they didn't expect him to be, those are things that don't show up on a stat sheet, but it's clearly because of his defensive prowess that they have to change things.
Defensive prowess, dude. Defensively, Rudy got lazy towards the end of that whole spiel.
Well, I don't know if lazy is the right term, but I think there was something going on where he didn't give it his full effort because of other reasons. Things going on between he and Donovan.
Yeah. Well, and the problem is that the problem with it is that Rudy Gobert just was getting toasted defensively because he wasn't playing offensively, or he wasn't getting the touches offensively. So he turned around and would come back on defense and just never really, I don't know, just wasn't alert like he used to be. And I think there was some pouting going on. Of course,
yeah, I think it was more pouting.
And I think like Giannis is just, his spark, or at least his, what did you call it? His momentum going into this whole COVID-19 situation. I feel like he had the upper hand. So, yeah,
But you think that they should have waited until after the seeding games?
Yeah,
because you think 8 games
makes a huge difference.
Could change who is the defensive player, who is the MVP, who is the sixth man.
Especially the MVP. LeBron James or James Harden? Who are you taking right now?
Why not Giannis?
Okay, well, yeah, Giannis is in that too. Rookie of the year, Ja or Zion?
Ja.
Sixth man of the year. And that one was a neck-and-neck race too.
Yeah.
And by the way, Montrezl Harrell just took off for a family emergency outside the bubble. He'll come back and return, but he'll have to quarantine for 2 weeks. That's huge.
Same thing with Zion.
Yep, it's a big thing for Zion. Coach of the year is a tough one. Unless you're going to give it to the guy who sat there and watched LeBron James and Anthony Davis and didn't have to do anything.
I just think it's the most fair that it's a NBA award based on everybody's participation, every team's participation. And so I think you go to when every team when every player was involved. And if you just isolate it to those only those 22 teams that you include those games, I think you could skew it. I don't know that it's going to make that much of a difference. I think you pretty much had an idea who those people were going to be, who were going to win those awards. But yeah, 8 games, not very many games, but somebody could make a strong case and change maybe somebody's attitude a little bit. But I don't know. I just think for fairness reasons, that's why you do it when everybody was involved, when everybody was playing.
Interesting. So wait, when will they announce that? They're just going to wait for the same day to announce it then? After the 8 games or after the resumption of the 8 games? That's what I'm trying to figure out. I don't know.
Shams says that the league will soon announce the voting process and plan to announce the winners.
Okay. Fair enough.
Nothing real definitive there.
All right, well, let's take a break. Coming back, what is the Utah Jazz lineup going to look like? And can it compete with other lineups in the Western Conference with what they have? Minus Bojan Bogdanovic. Obviously, it's going to be a catastrophic loss, a huge loss for the Utah Jazz. Do they find a way to still be on the plus side of the stat bar and get wins? Or is the loss of Bojan too much for them? We'll talk about players who have left the bubble, process of coming back, how it will affect the teams as well, especially the Pelicans. And losing Zion's going to be monstrous for them, especially as they're trying to, they're in the thick of that race. So we'll talk about that and more here coming up on the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen and Ajay Salvesen, 106 FM, 1390 AM. And we're back. Hey, 106 FM, 1390 AM, 1069thefan.com. Eric Frandsen, Ajay Salvesen, Full Court Press, 425. It's a Friday afternoon. It's a beautiful day. Hope you are having a great Friday.
Hot, toasty day.
Oh, yeah, dude. It is really warm. Dude, I've been working at Bear Lake, and I saw a photo from like 3 months ago, and now, dude, I am dark. Like, it is crazy how much I tan. And I don't get sunburned, and it's fantastic.
Lucky you.
Hey, really quickly, I missed 5763. Thank you for your text, 5763. Greatly appreciate you. If you want to join into the show, you know the drill. 435-339-0321 to text in, 435-752-1069 to call in. The text message from 5763. I like this. If there is no college football, I might cry. My wife, on the other hand, she'll be happy. Anyone with me? Yeah. You know what? There is a lot of very hopeful wives right now that, hey, if there's no college football, I get my husband for a whole entire Saturday.
There are a lot of football
I've
widows
got projects.
out there.
They've got lists. Maybe you're 5763. Maybe your wife has got a list of projects for you that she just has ready. When they say no college football, she's going to hand you that list and say, start working.
Here you go.
You got till January.
Here's what we got to do on Saturdays from now on.
Oh, man. 5763, we are definitely, absolutely, positively with you.
Yeah, we feel your pain.
Oh, yeah. Hey, but don't worry. Stay optimistic. Stay hopeful like Eric. Maybe, just maybe, we'll have college football in the fall.
One thing we do know is that there will be NBA basketball.
Yes.
And it's going to actually start next week with scrimmages. And AT&T Sportsnet, they're going to be broadcasting those. You can watch those on TV. Unfortunately, for a variety of different reasons, we won't be able to have them on radio.
Just the preseason games, by the way.
These are just scrimmages.
Yep.
We will have, when it comes to the restart, we will have those.
Yep, absolutely.
But there is a lot of talk about this Utah Jazz team as they're in the bubble. Just, how will they do without Bojan Bogdanovic? What's the relationship with Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell and everybody else? There's a lot of attention on the Utah Jazz as they come into this bubble. We've been talking about it a lot this week. The Athletic had a really nice piece about Mike Connolly. ESPN got into an interesting discussion about Donovan Mitchell. Can he take over games? Can he dominate? Well, now the latest article that's been put together, ESPN looked at 13. I don't know why they just went with 13 and not all 22, but they highlighted 13 rosters that will be interesting to watch when NBA play resumes, and the Jazz were one of them, most notably because one of their main guys won't be there. And so what is the lineup going to look like for the Jazz? How do they handle the loss of Bojan Bogdanovic? It's really interesting. They're proposing, they think, they're guessing That'll be Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, Joe Ingles, Royce O'Neal, and Rudy Gobert as your starting five. And honestly, I don't know how I would really do it much differently.
And he has him, by the way, as a +8.
Yes.
That's what shocked me the most.
And the thing that still provides a really good bench unit, mostly led by Jordan Clarkson. But then George Niang, as we talked about the other day, he could be kind of a surprise player for Utah. And Tony Bradley, who showed glimpses of some real improvement through the year.
Okay, so there's a plus side to O'Neal starting, and there's definitely a minus side to it. The plus side is that he can stand in the corner and shoot threes, and he's shooting around close to 40%. The bad news is he's got to guard every power forward, every big guy, and he is going to get dominated.
Yeah, normally he would guard wings, right?
Yeah.
The wing players, and
Yeah.
he did a nice
and he's
job
great
with that.
with that. Oh, yeah, he's wonderful. Great. He's got great...
Not out of his depth.
And it's wingspan, length, yeah. But he's not a physical defender. And power forwards are physical with you.
I don't know about that.
I have never seen him be a physical guy.
Really?
Yeah. Am I wrong?
I haven't seen him.
Help me.
I haven't seen him do a Jay Crowder and put someone on their butt, but
Boy, we're missing
I think that he's aggressive. I think he's in their face. I think he's all over them.
I'm going to just step off to the sidewalk here for just a moment. Who is the one guy who is not on our team this year that we are missing the most as we go into the restart of 8 games?
How far back do I get to go?
Just the last year.
Man, that's a good question. Because I guess you'd have to look at Jay Crowder, Derek Favors, Kyle Korver.
Yeah. He has that spot up. So you're looking at a spot up 3 guy in Korver. You're looking for an extra big man in Favors, and you're looking for the enforcer in Crowder.
Oh, man, that's a really, really good question. I think because of Boyan being out, man, I would probably say Jay Crowder. I'm close to saying Derek Favors, but I think I'd probably lean more to Crowder just because he's a 3-and-D guy. He can shoot the 3 and he'll defend aggressively. He can defend multiple positions. Favors could be the guy that replaces Rudy when he goes out of the lineup, but you got Ed Davis and Tony Bradley that are kind of doing that. I don't think you have near the drop-off with Derek Favors. But, I mean, Korver's a nice spot-up 3 guy, but I think you need somebody who's a little more versatile, so that's why I put Crowder ahead of him.
Yeah, I'm with you. I take Crowder, then Favors, then Korver. I think Crowder, again, brings that physical presence. He's not a great shooter, but he brings a very good defensive physical presence, and I think underneath the boards, he's really good on the offensive side. Derek Favors, I think you need a backup big man, right? We don't have one who's as qualified as Derek Favors was. Ed Davis really hasn't been what they thought he would be.
No.
Tony Bradley's still working into the transition of playing NBA basketball, it seems like.
He's had some moments where man, this guy's awesome.
And then you have other games,
it's like he doesn't know what he's even doing out there.
You should be back in the G League.
Yeah.
But again, I'm scared for O'Neal to be guarding a power forward.
Well,
Anthony Davis is going to light him up.
Okay, but who besides him? What other big power forwards is he going to match up against?
If he had a matchup would Zion be a power forward?
Yeah, well, yes.
Zion Williamson's going to eat him alive for 30 points if they play each other. Because Zion's going to be gone for game 1. He'll be quarantining. But game 2, if they were to have one in the playoffs, he'd get lit up. Let's see, another guy. Clippers are going to kill him. Clippers are absolutely going to murder him.
But Clippers don't have like a tall power forward that Royce O'Neal couldn't contend with.
What's Kawhi, a 2?
Kawhi Leonard will do a 2 or a 3.
3? So if he plays the 3,
he's a wing player.
So what does Paul George play?
Same
Does he
position.
just swap it?
3-4.
Okay. If Paul George plays that 4 spot, he's going to
Royce
light up
will probably
Royce
get Paul George.
And Paul George will light him up.
Which means that Joe Ingles would get Kawhi.
And I like Joe on Kawhi. I'm confident in Joe on Kawhi. And then the other problem would be Dallas Mavericks.
Joe Ingles and Paul George had some great battles in the playoffs.
So good. And Joe had
he got
his way.
in his head.
Joe had his way with him.
So maybe you just swap. You change the positions, who they defend.
That's actually a good point. Because I have more confidence in Royce O'Neal guarding Kawhi Leonard. Much more confidence in guarding Kawhi Leonard, as weird as that sounds, than Paul George. But then I think Dallas Mavericks also present a problem to Royce O'Neal. If he gets Kristaps Porzingis on a switch, which could happen often, dude, Kristaps gonna have a heyday.
Rudy would have Kristaps.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just saying because Kristaps is great from the perimeter, and Rudy Gobert's defense from the perimeter is very shaky, to say the least. So either he gets Rudy on a one-on-one matchup, because they all play man, they hardly ever play zone, ever. Or Kristaps says, you know what, give me a switch on the smaller Royce O'Neal, and I can still get what I want from the perimeter. That's what scares me the most. Just trying to think of any other teams that might present a problem.
Definitely not Houston.
Oh, yeah. But you know what, by the way, Houston's numbers stat-wise from the backcourt have went up tremendously since Clint Capella is no longer a part of the team. Their plus-minus has shot up because Clint Capella is not a part of the team. That amazes me, and I'm not sure how that works, but that amazes me.
They're just buying into the philosophy that awesome offense is better than average defense or even good defense.
Let's see. Milwaukee, they won't play, right, in that 8-game season?
Correct.
Philadelphia, they don't play. I think that's about it for me. I don't think anybody else really worries me too much. Heat? Do they play the Heat? I think they do. No.
In a scrimmage.
Okay, in a scrimmage, now we're good. They don't play the Pacers, do they? No. I can't remember who they all play. Other than that, I think that's it. I think otherwise we're good to go. I think Royce O'Neal will be all right. Again, I'm not entirely confident with his defensive aspect. Offensively, he's good. He's tremendous. He spreads the floor even at his position at the 4.
Yeah, so here's who they have in the reset. Okay, New Orleans.
Okay.
There could be a problem there.
Yes.
Oklahoma City.
We're going to toast them.
Los Angeles.
Lakers?
Lakers. Yes.
I'm worried. I'm absolutely worried.
Worried about that. Memphis?
No.
San Antonio?
No.
Denver?
Yeah, it's a good one.
I'm not as concerned.
You're not as concerned?
With Roy. We're talking specifically with Royce and his defensive assignment.
Yes.
I don't think I'm really that concerned.
Okay.
Dallas?
Yes.
And San Antonio again?
No. Okay, so we're going to be all right then.
I think they'll be okay.
Yeah, we dodged. Dude, when I look at some of these lineups, Eric, we dodged so many bullets, it's ridiculous. We dodged the Kings, but the Kings are kind of falling apart because De'Aaron Fox sprained his ankle, and they had someone leave out of the bubble for a family thing. I want to say it was Barnes. And then the Pacers we dodged, and they got Doug McDermott. I feel like Malcolm Brogdon's a problem. We dodged the Clippers.
Here's the lineup for the Mavericks.
Okay.
Seth Curry, Tim Hardaway Jr., Dorian Finney-Smith.
Oh, shoot. Luka Doncic.
Oh,
no.
And Kristaps Porzingis. But Kristaps big, but
give me a matchup with
about
Lukic.
The other guys.
Give me your thoughts on Doncic versus O'Neal. You got an absolute score at any part of the level of the court.
I really like that.
Really?
Yeah, I like that matchup.
Why?
Who else would you put up against Luka? If I want, based on his size, ability, and what he can do, Royce O'Neal's the first guy that I would think of to defend him.
I just feel like Lukic would put him in a washer and on the spin cycle. What
Dorian
about Joe?
Smith, by the way, he's 6'7".
Is Joe too slow to guard Luka?
No. If he can guard Paul George, he can guard Luka. So that's not really a big lineup for Dallas. I think the Jazz can handle that.
Who's the biggest problem for you? Defensively, speaking of the Jazz, who's the biggest problem for you guarding what team?
Houston.
Really?
Just because everybody can hit.
Yeah.
And if you come out, then they're going to drive to the basket.
And they get every
and they
call
get
in the
everything.
doggone book, man.
They just know how to attack the Jazz, and the Jazz just have not been able to figure it out.
Even without Clint Capella, you're still worried?
I think they were getting better.
Yeah.
As the contests against them went on later in the year, I think they were figuring it out better and better. But still, there's something about that Houston team that's tough for the Jazz.
Yeah. I'm worried. By the way, if you're the Lakers, you've lost Rondo, right? You have your starting lineup is going to be ugly. I mean, besides Anthony Davis and LeBron James, I'm not sure how you look at a lineup with that little of depth and expect to be okay. Maybe I'm crazy in saying that, but you've got, with the Lakers, Caruso, KCP, Green, LeBron, and Anthony Davis.
That's a pretty big lineup.
It's big, but it's not athletic. You've got LeBron and Anthony Davis. And you have no depth in the back. By the way, your bench.
You're saying LeBron and Anthony Davis are not athletic?
No, I said they are.
Oh.
I said
they're not
with the exception for
outside
LeBron
of
and
those
Anthony.
two guys. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Kyle Kuzma on the bench comes off. Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee. Again, you've got big men, but little athleticism and no depth. Like if you're the Lakers,
they have depth at the power forward or center position, but nothing else.
But they have depth.
JaVale McGee,
but
Dwight
it's JaVale
Howard.
McGee, man. It's JaVale McGee.
It is, but Dwight Howard is.
Yeah,
he's
Dwight's a problem.
He's had a flashback. He's gone back in time.
Yeah, Dwight's an absolute problem. If you're the Lakers, I'm going to quiz you here, pop quiz. If you're the Lakers, there's one team that you are praying to the basketball gods not to see in round one. It would be who? Out of that 8 seed.
From the West, I'd probably say Houston. Houston really wants the Lakers.
Can you
there's
imagine?
Very different styles, and if they're hitting their shots, man, that could be a really,
Could
really
you
interesting
imagine
series.
Russell Westbrook getting Caruso on him for 48 minutes or for 40 minutes of basketball of the 48? Russell Westbrook would just say, spread out, get out of the way, I'm going one-on-one. And if anybody double teams me, I've got, like you said earlier, I've got shooters all around me. Russell Westbrook is just licking his chops.
Chuck it to anybody wearing red, and they're going to hit a three.
Do you know what the other problem is, though? Is the Blazers. Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. And, by the way, they get Jurkic back. Versus this team. Damian Lillard's going to average 40 in the playoffs in the first round. Because Caruso, he might have his moments offensively where he's a flash. No way, and you know what, that he's going to be able to freaking shut down Damian Lillard.
Well, Carmelo Anthony is in the mix for Portland. That's been seemingly working out okay. Zach Collins is coming back for Portland. That's a little bit different lineup there. So, Blazers are a team not to be overlooked.
Yeah, I don't think the Blazers are out of this by any means of the stretch. And I think the Pelicans can, without Zion, it depends how long Zion's out. If he comes back Tuesday, right? Comes back Tuesday, he's got to sit until the 4th. He's got to quarantine till the 4th of August. If it's any later, it's 5th, 6th, 7th, or 8th. By then, they could be out of it completely.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, it is panic time for the Pelicans. Because that's your best player, and he's going to be out for 2 weeks now, coming back after quarantine. But again, he left for family emergency reasons, and he needs to take care of that. Speaking of which, Montrezl Harrell of the Clippers is also left the bubble for a family emergency. A couple other guys have too. No other really notable ones, it looks like. I haven't seen yet, unless you see anybody. Oh, by the way, James Harden. Or no, not James Harden. Speaking of Dwight Howard, he got warned for not wearing a mask. And I think the second time you get warned, you have to quarantine, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, by the way, and it came via the
anonymous tip line. Hey,
Howard said,
I was just looking over my State Farm insurance, and when I looked up for my paperwork, I saw Dwight Howard walking around without a mask on.
Howard said he was reported by the NBA campus hotline, and he's been disciplined for not wearing a mask. Let's see. It's called the snitch not hotline, by the way, for all the NBA players. They call it the snitch hotline, which is pretty funny. They don't have what the policy, or I guess the violations is for continuing to not wear a mask. I thought I read somewhere that they said that, it is. It's a 10-day quarantine. So if he gets caught again, he's out for 10 days. So what I would do, if I was that snitch, I wait for 10 days. Day before the game, hey, I found him again, not wearing a mask. You don't need cameras. I already found him. He's eating a cheeseburger right now. No mask. Outside. Yeah. Dude, that just blows my mind, that whole entire thing. All right, let's take a break. MLB baseball. Eric, it's coming up. NFL camp starts on Monday. Baseball starts a week from today. Hooray! I can't wait.
It's getting closer.
Washington Redskins are in some serious hot water.
The Washington team?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Thank you for letting me know. Washington, the NFL football team, is in serious hot water, and it's not looking good for Mr. Snyder.
It has nothing to do with mascots.
Yeah, not this time. So we'll get into that. We'll get into some NFL news and notes before they begin camp on Monday. Baseball starts next Thursday. We'll also get into some news on them. But now it is time for This Week in the NFL.
I'm Patrick Claybon with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. NFL Network's Tom Pelissero reporting the NFL sent the Players Association a counterproposal on the economics of the 2020 season amid the COVID-19 pandemic. That counterproposal would cut each team's salary cap and benefits for players by $40 million. Tom says the union would like a solution that doesn't involve such a significant hit in 1 year, preferring instead to stretch that hit out over multiple years. Another part of the NFL's proposal, any player may opt out of the 2020 season with written notice by August 1st. The Washington Post implicating multiple former employees of Washington, D.C.'s NFL franchise of sexual harassment and verbal abuse in a story that was published on Thursday. 15 women came forward as sources, including former employees as well as journalists. The team has hired a law firm to launch a thorough investigation. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Ajay Salvesen.
You don't take a great QB and say, you know what, why don't you go play defense and play safety?
Worked out for Eric Weddle.
That was a different animal. Eric, don't put Eric Weddle in this conversation. Now, when I say
I'm not suggesting that could be the case. Just that Weddle he came in as a quarterback and got converted to another position.
Piranhas, let's keep it going.
And he had a nice career doing it.
Shelly's the next Weddle. Keep it up, Piranhas. I love it. I'm
Weddle.
going to use that as my promo.
Oh, my
and you are going to hear it. Shelly is the next Weddle, quote unquote.
Tune in weekdays at 4 here on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, and 1069thefan.com.
Northern Utah and Southern Idaho's home for sports. It's the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 1069 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
5 minutes to get you through the Friday and to get you ready for a weekend. Baseball begins a week from today. NFL camp begins on Monday. We're getting closer, folks. We are getting closer. Again, Utah Jazz basketball. Their scrimmages will be broadcasted on AT&T. We won't have them on our station due to a variety of reasons, but don't you worry. Don't fret. Don't scream. Don't yell. We'll have the 8 regular season resumption games on our station, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM with David Locke. Again, those TV broadcasted scrimmages will be on AT&T Sportsnet. So tune into those with Craig Bolerjack, who does a phenomenal job. And watch the scrimmages, get some takeaways from it. We will do the same. And and a reminder, by the way, also a week from today, we will not have a show as we celebrate Pioneer Day here in the state of Utah.
Which really there aren't any celebrations going on, but we'll take the day off.
That's true, yeah.
We'll celebrate by hanging out in the backyard and finding a cold beverage.
You want me to come over? I always think I could bring you some brats over. We could hang out, grill, talk sports, maybe watch some baseball.
I didn't say I was going to be doing that in my backyard.
Well, you got a pretty big backyard. You think
No, actually, no, it's not. It's too small.
Really?
Yeah, we wouldn't have room.
Oh, okay, cool. Let's get back to some baseball news. Again, they begin next week. Here is the one question that it would take for everybody to want to understand is from Jeff Passan of ESPN. What would it take to shut baseball down, right?
There is no line that is drawn in the sand, Jason. And that's the confusing part about it, the teams, It's up to Rob Manfred, essentially. Rob Manfred has the mandate and the ability to shut down a season at any point, but he has not said, nor has anyone at Major League Baseball, that this is going to be where I shut down the season. If, one team gets a dozen coronavirus cases and can't field a representative and competitive squad, is that going to be it? Is it going to take multiple teams? How exactly is this whole thing going to be determined? They don't know. And that's another layer of confusion that's added to this whole thing.
And he brings up a great point. What is it going to take to shut down the baseball season, Eric? Is it just one team being shut down, or is that to be multiple teams?
Well, they've been very coy to not set any specific line in the sand, if you will. They're being very careful because they don't know. Attitudes may shift. Protocols may shift. So they're being very careful not to expressly say, if we reach this specific threshold, things have to change. Or we have to shut things down.
Really quickly, what is it for football, like college? What would it take to have, if they have a football season, what would be the one thing that would shut it down? Would it have to be a conference, or would it just be a team?
To shut the whole thing down?
Yeah.
Probably a team.
Okay.
But I don't know. If everybody's just doing conference only, you could have the full SEC play their full games and say there's an outbreak in the Air Force Academy and they're out. The other Mountain West teams just continue to play their games. Just that game is a forfeit for Air Force or just a no contest. You still play the rest of your games. You just have an extra bye week.
That's a good point.
I don't know. I think you still play.
All right, let's take one more break, and we'll clean it up for Friday and get you ready for the freaking weekend.
Washington in hot water, and it's nothing to do with the logo.
Coming back on the Full Court Press.
The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
Eric Frandsen, Ajay Salvesen. Let's go ahead and just get the music out of here. We'll move on. Eric.
Do you want me to sing? You want me to do the music?
No, it's okay.
Oh, okay. Good.
Speaking of wanting to get out of here, Dan Snyder is in some extremely hot water, Eric, and as you said, it has nothing to do with the mascot this time.
Yeah, a lot of sexual innuendo and sexual harassment allegations going around with that Washington team. And it's not just by women either. That there's a lot of bullying behavior going on, but 15 women came forward, spoke to the Washington Post, and saying that they had signed non-disclosure agreements with the team, saying that there was it was reprehensible. So Snyder released a statement today saying, that has no place in our franchise, in our society. We're going to strengthen our resolve to be better, have a new culture and a new standard. He hasn't exactly been a bastion of a great leader leading by example on this, however. It's just a lot of bad things. I wonder, will this get to the point where, like the NBA did to, now I can't think of his name, guy that owned the Clippers.
Oh, Don Sterling.
Where they found an easy excuse to get him out. and find a new owner? Will they do something similar with the with Snyder and the Washington team?
It's been Full Court Press. We'll talk to you next week.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. The way pro sports works, owning a franchise isn't a right for life. It's a privilege. Owners have to answer to other owners and the leagues. We've seen several examples of owners losing their teams. Marge Schott in the Cincinnati Reds, Donald Sterling with the Clippers, Jerry Richardson with the Panthers. Yesterday, the Washington Post released a report on allegations of sexual harassment made by 15 women who worked for the team. They described a work environment that was completely toxic. There's a lot more information to come out, but the team has already fired multiple employees. Now owner Daniel Snyder comes into focus. Although he's not directly implicated in the article, there is a degree of responsibility at the top. There's also a lot going on right now because of the pandemic, but I would hope that each NFL owner and the commissioner listen to what these women are saying and be prepared to take action commensurate with how serious the allegations are. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.